Subclass 2.2 Engineering Policy. So the definition of engineering insurance. Engineering insurance refers to the insurance that provides economic safeguard to the risks faced by the ongoing construction project, installation project, and machines and equipment in project operation. So, what is engineering insurance? Times have changed. Businesses are evolving more rapidly, and industries are becoming more responsive to market dynamics, including global forces, risks, and opportunities. South Africa's construction and engineering sector is certainly not exempt, and it would seem that history has taught stakeholders to be increasingly astute when it comes to risk management. So, description of cover. It would be possible to write volumes on the subject of engineering insurance, so we can only hope to introduce this policy type here. Engineering insurance provides cover for large construction and engineering projects and includes categories such as contractors all risks, known by its acronym as CAR, also called contract works or construction insurance, advanced loss of profits, engineering project insurance, and machinery breakdown. We will briefly describe each of these insurances below. So, people, I just want to say, don't get confused between vehicle insurance and car insurance. That car insurance is not the car you're driving. You're driving a vehicle. Car insurance, it comes from the C from contractors, it comes from the A of all, and the R for risk. Contractors all risk. You may see car insurance as engineering insurance. Okay? So remember, car belongs to engineering, commercial lines. It stands for contractors all risk, not for your car you're driving. That's a motor vehicle you're driving. So separate the two, please. Car insurance is under commercial and motor vehicle. 9 out of 10 times it's under personal lines, unless you use the vehicle for business purposes. Then it might fall under commercial as well, or if you've got a fleet of vehicles. So I just want you to know that you don't get confused between the two. All right. So let's look at contractors all risk car. Car insurance policies offers cover on and all risk basis for physical loss or damage to the insured property during the construction phase. You see, car is there for engineering on property during the construction phase, not when it's built already. While the engineer is building or the contractor is busy building, things can go wrong, and they need insurance for all those things that can go wrong. Okay, because they work out, okay, this is how much cement they must have, and bricks and stone and iron bars and fittings, and the people they need to pay to build this, and they work out, okay, this is what this project is going to cost, plus they add their profit. So that is the price of the building. Now things go wrong, and now they've got more expenses, which they didn't bargain for because of those things that went wrong, and now they're going to lose money, which ends up they're going to be bankrupt, and they 9 out of 10 times never be able to finish. So that's why they need the insurance. You see, second bullet, policies can be issued over all types of building and civil engineering construction, including residential housing, commercial property, and infrastructure. The main perils covered on the car policy are things like fire and explosion, theft, burglary, collapse, earthquakes, landslides, storms, and floods. So while they're busy building your double-story house, uh, the ground can collapse. Collapse. Sorry, there goes your house. Like what happens in Centurion in Gauteng. The earth just collapses and then the buildings fall into the ground. Or if there's an earthquake, it can split that half construction unit into two. And then, yeah, you've got two halves, not one full house. Even landslides can destroy that half-built building. storms or floods, or fire because of an explosion. Maybe they nearly finished with your house. They put in the gas pipes, the gas lines for your gas stove, and then something went wrong. The gas pipes pop open, the gas is leaking, and one of the guys that stand there and they lit their cigarettes and woof, there's an explosion and a fire and gone is your half built house. So then you want insurance for that, or the engineer wants insurance for that. All right. Theft as well. We know constructors, they leave the construction equipment, the machinery at site at night. So the next morning when they arrive, it might be stolen. So they need insurance for all these kind of things that can go wrong. The last bullet, the policy can also include a third-party liability section to protect insured against third-party claims relating to the construction activities. So the builder has finished building your house, but before you can move in, they need to get inspected to sign it off that the place is fit for people to live in. And now the inspector come, and while they're walking down the house in the house, a piece of cement falls down onto his toes and he broke out all his toes. Now that inspector is a third party. He's going to put in a claim for the operation because somebody needs to pay for his operation hospitalization to fix his broken toes. All right, so that will also include third party. Advance loss of profits. This policy covers the principal's loss of gross profit resulting from a delayed completion of the construction and or erection works. It cannot be issued as a standalone cover and is usually issued alongside a car policy. So you cannot buy this separate. You must add it with a car policy. Indemnity is limited to the actual loss of gross profit sustained for the duration of the delay in the completion of the project, which delay must be caused by an event covered under CAR, and normal working delays are not covered. So, you wanted to build a new home, you got the loan from the bank for 2 million rand. The contractor said, okay, it's going to take him 12 months to build a place, and he's charging you 2 million rand. The place maybe cost him 1.8 to build. He worked out that is his expenses for all his stuff and equipment. He's making 200,000 profit. And you say, all right, wherever you stay, you're going to stay for another year until your property is finished building, and then you can move into your new property. But because of unforeseen reasons, there's floods, there's an explosion, um, the ground falls in, and now the whole construction stands still. Um, and there's a lot of damages which need to be paid, and the contractor works out, oh, it's going to take him another 6 months to finish because of all this damage, because now he must first fix all the damages before he can go on. So it puts him 6 months behind. So he must pay for his staff another 6 months' salaries, which he didn't bargain for. That was not in his budget. uh, you suing him now because now you must for another 6 months you must stay somewhere else. You cannot move into your place. That was not on your budget, to pay a house and to pay rent now for another 6 months. So you see, things are just going badly. So therefore, that advance loss of profits for the engineer, they must give him an advance. So he claimed from this policy, and they said, he says, okay, my loss of profits is, let's say, 100,000 rand. So he claims it, and then they advance that 100,000 for him, so that he will be able to carry on, pay his people their salaries, to carry on, finish building the property. So that's why it's an advance on the loss of your profits. Do you understand? I hope so. Engineering project insurance cover. This is an insurance policy that combines a number of typical engineering project covers into one. It is a combination of car, contractor's third party liability, and advanced loss of profit cover. So, the engineering project insurance You can see because it's a whole project. That building, that construction is the engineer's project, and he needs insurance. So that's why if he takes this policy, it will be a combination of car, which we just discussed, the third party liability, for instance, if the inspector comes to visit the property to do inspection and they get hurt, and also advanced loss of profits cover. So it's a combination of all of those things. Okay. Machinery breakdown insurance. Machinery breakdown, also known as MB insurance, offers protection against sudden and unforeseen physical loss or damage to machinery which has been erected at the construction site and is operational or at rest. You know, there's big cranes that they use to build the tall buildings, like a block of flats. So it might be those machines. They erect them and then they leave them there. They use them to waste material from the bottom to the top so that the guys can carry on. So it is an accident insurance for machines for internal breakdown or derangement, not for wear and tear. So machinery breakdown is for a breakdown when the engine blow up or whatever, but not for wear and tear. This policy performs by paying for all the repair costs up to the value of the machinery at the time of the loss. So they will not pay more than the value of the machine. They only pay up to the value of the machine. Machines have a limited lifespan as they are exposed to wear and tear because these cranes they stand outside in the rain and so on. So yeah, they can start to rust and so on because it's made of iron. Therefore, machinery owners must depreciate their machines annually and establish reserves for replacement. So they must plan ahead for wear and tear when machines must go in for services or repairs, and then they need to have replacement machinery. Defining engineering insurance. The engineering industry is significant for several reasons. Apart from being a highly specialized sector, it remains a significant economic contributor despite fluctuations, challenges, and slowdowns that have impacted it in recent years. From a risk mitigation point of view, it is important to note that there are various risks and liability concerns that are specific to it. So when you look at contractors all risk and erection all risk insurance, you'll see there it starts with car or ear insurance. Now, as I said before, that car is not the car you drive a vehicle. That car comes from the C of contractors, the A from all, and the R from risks. That is car. And your ear, let's make it another color. Your ear is not this ear, it is the E in erection, the I in all, and the R in risks. That is your ear. So it's contractors all risk or erections all risk insurance because you contractors get the contract to erect buildings, to build buildings. So your car or your ear insurance comprehensive cover all forms of building and civil engineering construction. And this includes, to name just a few, residential housing developments from standalone homes to expansive estates, commercial developments including office blocks, warehouses and shopping centers, and civil infrastructure from roads to dams to sewerage, reticulation and pipelines. Just there's just a few. So all risk policies cater for the following threats or potential hazards: fire, explosion, flood or rainstorm or water damage, windstorm, subsidence, landslip, accidental damage, theft. When you talk about public liability insurance, public liability cover is designed to compensate for the accidental death or injury or loss or damage to property suffered by a third party, but caused by the business owner or one of its employees in the course of business. So maybe a business owner or one of his employees caused damage to a third party. It might be that you park at the shopping center and they're busy building there, and then the contractors they drop a piece of pipe from top and it lands on your car. Now there's damage to your car. You're the third party, and yes, they must have insurance for that. The business owner. A public liability policy will cover the defense costs, in other words, the legal costs, if you go to court to defend the insured against the third party's claim. So yeah, it will also help the defendant against your claims. It will also cover his fees or her fees. It will also pay the damages awarded by the court and the third party's legal expenses up to the limit insured. So you see, it will also cover your damages, the third party's damages and legal expenses. Determining the public liability limit of indemnity. So there will be a limit for that indemnity. The cost in defending a third party liability claim escalate quickly while settlements of or court orders can run into millions of rands. A common mistake for business and property owners is to take inadequate cover. 5 million rand sounds like a big number, but this amount is quickly eroded. It makes sense to start at 10 million and to review the limit frequently. So it can be that a person comes to visit you and they slip on the stairs and they fell and they break their backs or hurt their backs. Now they're hospitalized and they may be paralyzed. Then they can put a claim against you or the shopping owner, the shopping building owner. So therefore, you must have that third party liability in that case that they can pay out that person. Mall robberies expose retailers to public liability risk. Of course, yes. If you're owner of a shopping mall and people rob inside the mall, then you can be held responsible for third party or public liability risk. You see, recent cases of armed robbery at the Canal Walk shopping center in Cape Town resulted in the theft of an estimated 1 million rand worth of Apple products. And it's not that Apple you eat, it's Apple tablets, Apple computers, Apple iPhones, those kind of apples, as well as 2 million rand worth of diamonds, rings, and watches. These robberies took place despite security and surveillance being in place at the mall. So these crooks don't care. They just put on balaclavas or hide their faces, face masks. Then they go in and they steal, they rob. The introduction in South Africa of the CPA has increased the public liability risk in certain sectors. So, broad form of liability insurance. A broad form liability coverage provides cover for the insured's liability to a third party. This refers to when a business owner, official, or employee of the business causes injury or damage to a third party or third property as a result of their premises, business operations, or products supplied. Typical covers requested include public liability, products liability, employers liability, statutory legal defense costs, and wrongful arrest and defamation. Determining the broad form liability limit of indemnity. So there are dozens of factors that must be brought into consideration to determine a company's broad form liability premium. So, for example, for public liability, the insurer or UMA would need to know about the main business activities undertaken by the insured, the number of premises, the size of its offices, the possibility of spread of fire and its pollution liability exposure. Products liability cover is even more complex. Engineering project insurance cover, EPIC. This is not like it's an epic episode. Let me help you again. EPIC, yes, the E in engineering, the P in project, the I in insurance, and the C in cover. That's EPIC. That spells EPIC. Often projects require cover for both construction and erection elements of a project and associated third-party liability cover, coupled with resulting loss of profits. This is conventionally achieved by issuing two or three separate policies. The engineering project insurance cover, the EPIC policy, combines these elements into one. So it takes all of them and put them in one policy. So planned all risks insurance. Construction and erection works often call for the use of heavy, specialized machinery such as tunnel boring machines, earth moving equipment, cranes, pumps, air compressors, etc. It is possible to cover such plant and equipment by way of an appropriate endorsement under car, air, or EPIC policies, which we just discussed before. However, specific items of plant are usually only on one construction erection site until the particular job for which they are designed for is completed. So a developer will use his crane and his air compressors and boring machines and earth moving equipment at one site because you might only have one of each, and once he's finished here, he moves them to the another site to the new job, to the new contract. Business electronic equipment insurance. Business, small and large, have a significant inventory of computers and other electronic equipment like printers and scanners and whatever, without which they cannot function. Electronic equipment insurance provides cover for the cost of the repair or replacement of specified computers and electronic equipment provided it is kept within the business premises. Electronic equipment that will be used outside the business premises on site or at employees' homes should be covered on a business all risk section. Deterioration of stock insurance, DOS. And this is not like the DOS computer language. The DOS is from the D in deterioration, the O of off, and the S of stock insurance. Deterioration Deterioration of stock is special insurance for the protection of perishable goods stored in a warehouse, type cold stores or controlled environment rooms. The policy is not intended for goods stored in a retail shops or stores. So maybe the big warehouses where they keep the food before it goes to the retail shop is there in frozen warehouses or cold storages, and then maybe that cold storage machine breaks and they lose temperature and then the stock is going off. Then you've got insurance against that. Business interruption insurance. Business interruption insurance, also known as business income insurance, is a type of insurance that covers the loss of income that a business suffers after a disaster. So there may be floods that went through the building and now it's a big cleanup and a mess and nobody can come and shop there. So you lose income in that time it takes you to fix the shop again and get everything ready. The income loss covered may be due to disaster-related closing of the business facility or due to the rebuilding process after a disaster. So they look at your actual loss sustained. Business income coverage covers the actual loss sustained by the insured as a result of direct physical loss or damage to the insured's property by a peril not otherwise excluded from the policy. So maybe the water came through the windows and through your products on the ground, and then you say, okay, to replace the windows, to replace the carpets if you had carpets, to replace all the stock that went underwater is 100,000 rand. That is then your actual loss. Fixed costs, operating expenses, and other costs still being incurred by the property based on historical costs. So what is it going to cost you your operating costs per day, and how many days. Let's say your X amount and your business is out of business for 10 days. So you take that fixed cost times it by 10 days for each day. Temporary location. Some policies cover the extra expenses for moving to and operating from a temporary location. So if you need to move to another temporary location because they must revamp this business, you can also get insurance for that, for moving to the temporary location, for paying rent there as well, etc. Commission and training costs. Business interruption (BI) policy essentially covers the cost of providing training to the operators of the machinery replaced by the insurer following the insured events. So you had this kinds of machinery, now they're broken, or you're lost in because earthquakes or whatever, and now you bought the same type of machinery but a different brand because that's all that you had money for, or you that was available. Now your your machine operators, crane operators must learn these new machines, so they must go for courses for training. So that is also expenses, training cost. Extra expenses, reimbursement for reasonable expenses beyond the fixed cost that allow the business to continue operation while the property is being repaired. Uh, Extra expenses like water and lights that you have to pay now. Suddenly, you're driving further to the temporary location, it's more petrol. You're going through toll gates, you have to pay that as well, etc. And then profits. The profits that you would have earned based on prior month's financial statement. So how much profit would you've made? Let's say 25,000 profits, then they will reimburse you for that as well. Business income. Usually the carrier is liable for the reduction in net income that results from suspension of operations, whether wholly or partially due to a physical loss at the insured's premises. The following commonly used definitions of business income is intended to clarify what sums can be included when calculating the amount of loss. So the period of restoration. Insurers are liable for the loss of business income only during the period of restoration, which is often defined as the length of time required to rebuild or repair or replace the damaged or destroyed property. The period of restoration begins when a physical loss or damage occurs. It ends when the property should, with reasonable speed, be repaired or replaced. And that's the end of this unit or section. If you've got any questions, you know what to do.